it's taking a couple of seconds to load up. I'll give it plenty of time. Aidan might jump in and give me a shout if anything needs to be fixed up, but fingers crossed it all goes to plan, okay? So we have a great crowd on here this evening. We have over 40 coaches on. Look, it's probably with the return to play coming up, hopefully at the proposed date later on in April, that we're all mad to get back out on the field now. At this stage, we're probably sick of being tied to the house and not being able to get out and about. So I suppose this evening is more so just a run through of be ready to coach and be ready to get back on the field. So all of this is going to go out afterwards, so the whole recording will be sent out. I'll run through this all at the end, but there will go a message as well with all the information, all the details of athletic development, coaching, pitch sessions, you name it. It'll all go out tomorrow before lunchtime to every club contact. So we have a club contact, each of us for each club. We send all our information to, all the info will go to them and they will forward it on to you, hopefully as they done with the link for this meeting. So I presume that's how most of us are on tonight, okay? So we'll shoot on through it. Okay, so just our topics for this evening. Hopefully that's loaded up for you there now. We're going to run through our return to play, games-based coaching, how to coach skills. I'm sure we're fairly okay with them at this stage once we're coaching under 15s and under 17s, but it's no harm to run through them again. And then also at the end, the resources, okay? So plenty of resources available, and maybe just showing us where we can access them or anything like that. It will be useful later on in the season too, okay? So our return to play, basically it's readying the player for return to games, okay? So we have our skills, fitness, injury prevention, and how do we tie all that in together? So on our skills, when we get back onto the pitch, basically we're looking for refinement. How can we do that is through pressure. So more than just a ball kicking between two, we have to put the skills under pressure to force them to improve or collapse and then learn from that, okay? So I have chaos in there as well, okay? It's just another buzzword, I suppose, for game scenarios and stuff, which I'm going to move on to in a couple of minutes, where you're going to learn the most about your players and they're also going to learn the most about themselves. So improving their skills for match play is the best way to do it is by playing games, okay? Also, we're going to look at fitness, so conditioning, how we can manage that, fitness with the ball, and mental and physical, okay? So probably a lot of buzzwords thrown around and a lot of information about fitness nowadays between conditioning. Everyone knows the old-fashioned way of running. Maybe can we change that up? And the best way is to engage our players while doing it, okay? Because I would imagine most people don't be looking forward to go to training if they're going to be doing a lot of running. And also injury prevention, okay? So have there 3 points: athletic development, warm-ups and recovery, okay? So we'll touch on all of them, but also most of that will be available in the resources if you haven't got it already. We've sent out a lot on that from 15s to 17s over the course of probably all 3 lockdowns, but specifically in the 3rd lockdown now, we've been working a lot with the under 15s in the county. So hopefully lots will have a good base in that regard, but we'll run through it when we get that far too, okay? So as we alluded to already, we have the use of games-based approach to work on skills and fitness, okay? So we can combine both, and that way you're engaging your players. That's why they're at training, because they want to play football first and foremost, but also you can get a lot of fitness work, kind of disguise it if you want, into that too, okay? So ways we can do that. So we have our small-sided games, so we can go from 3-on-3s to 7-on-7s. I wouldn't be really advocating for anything above a 7-on-7 game for if you're working on fitness and on skills, okay? Because if you want a player to get as much touches of the ball as possible, obviously by eliminating the amount of opponents and teammates will help that, okay? So there's only one football to go around, and it's maximising the use of that and the time that you have with them, okay? So whereas if you have a 3v3 game, if you open it up and give them good enough space to move in, we can also work on a lot of our endurance and a lot of our fitness through that too, okay? So it's about being prepared that way, having your coaches with you, that you're not on your own, you shouldn't be on your own to start off with, but that you have the people and the personnel there to help you out if something isn't going right. How do we switch this up? And managing that on the pitch, it's you that's going to be on the pitch. You mightn't have these fancy slides, or I know it seems easy explaining it like this, but thinking on your feet, how can I make this game harder? How can I make it easier? How can I add in a more of a fitness element? Okay, so space and time will be a big factor in that. Okay, we have our overload games, so if you want to work on specific skills, so if it was the kick pass, if you had a 6v4 game, if you had a team of 4 with the football, there's going to be an awful lot of pressure on them from the 6 defenders, so they have to be sharp, they have to be quick, there has to be lots of movement. Likewise, if you want a team to retain the possession, if the 6 had the ball and the 4 were tackling, there's a good element of fitness work in that then too, okay? Be a bit like Piggy in the middle chasing around, but if it's what you want to get out of the session, you want to get in a bit more fitness work, it's a good way of doing that too, okay? All of these things we'll go through how to coach skills in a couple of minutes, and how we can, I suppose, change them up, regress them, progress them, and suit to what we have on the field that day, okay? So I'd imagine most of us won't, some clubs will have 10 to 15 players out training with their under 15s to 17s. Some clubs might be lucky to have very good numbers of up 20 and upwards, okay? Also different ways we can change up our games. We have condition games as well, okay? So probably a word we've heard a lot, but maybe the understanding of it might just not be there, okay? So our condition games would be things like man on man, okay? So if I was playing on a pitch here 7-on-7 and Aiden was who I was marking, I could make the rule that he's the only player I can tackle, okay? So that means you have to stick with him, whether he's faster, fitter, stronger. You have to stick with him, and there's a battle for the ball every time it comes. If he gets on the ball, there's a race and a tackle to try and get it back, okay? So it's a good way of working on fitness, good way of keeping an eye on everyone, that everyone's pulling their weight too, okay? So that no one's just drifting in and out of the game when their team has the ball. They also will be showing up if they're not working defensively as well, okay? We also have kick pass and only games, so if that's the skill you want to work on. Also, if there's a kick pass, there's obviously a catch, so it's good ways to introduce the mark and delivering ball inside too, okay? So if you cut out the hand pass and there's only a kick pass, you'd find players would be more inclined to get their head up and look inside for the first time ball. Different rules you can add in there as well. You could add in 2 touch, you could add in no touch. So if there's no touch and you have to give and go, then you're moving towards your fitness element again, okay? So we see how all this stuff ties in together, and you can marry both together to get the desired outcome at the end of it, okay? Just so we have here, many of us might have seen this before, level 1 courses and stuff like that. So the coaching process, so what you want to do, or what the experts are telling us is the best to do, probably from younger than under 15s, you would have seen it every time you go to training. The first thing you're asked, can they do, is play a match, or can they play a game? So the way that we look at it now is you play the game, see how it's going, make a decision on it. Something might not be working too well, okay? So you might notice in the first 5 to 10 minutes of your game, your small-sided games, that the tackling isn't up to scratch, okay, or up to standard. So you freeze the game. You might move it on down to a drill. So this could be specific to the coaching block that you're in at the minute. If you're working on your tackling and your handling, move on down to a drill that's going to focus in on that, okay? So maybe your 1-on-1 tackling alleys, 2-on-2 square, moving the ball around, okay? But you're only going to stay with that for a couple of minutes. You're just fueling what you want, getting the message across, and then you're going to go back to your game and reassess and reevaluate to see how well you coached it, but also how well the players took it up, okay? And it's not going to work 100% every time. You're not going to switch over and you're going to go back and it's going to be like the All-Ireland final of 2020, that it's ding dust up and down the field. It just doesn't happen like that. So you might have to stop, spot and fix again, and then get back into it. But that's what the coaching process is all about, that you have the eye to see what's wrong, maybe leave it for a couple of minutes, see does it sort out itself. If it doesn't, then you can address it, but address it in a way that the players will understand and that you can keep them engaged that when they're going back into the game, they understand specifically what you're looking for, okay? Shoot on now. Okay, so we have, lots of us will have, most of us should have seen this before, and I would hope are implementing it already. So we have our idea and our step methods, okay? So for coaching a skill, under 15s and 17s should be fairly proficient in our skills at this stage anyways, but it's no harm to run through it again, okay? So in coaching our skill, we have our idea method, so introduce, demonstrate, explain, and let them execute, and then attend, okay? So that's about spotting and fixing. Can be the same in our game scenario, so it might not just be specific to spotting and fixing to a solo or a bounce or a pickup. It might be in a game, spot and fix and say, Sean, you should have went right here instead of going left, and then give them the reasons for why you feel that way, okay? And then we also have our step method, so changing an activity, like our small-sided games. Space, if you want to make it harder, open up the space. Or also, if you want to make it tougher, you can close it down, which means to get more tackles, less time on the ball. If that's the training block you're working towards, okay? So we have time, or task, equipment, and players, okay? So we'll just shoot on to the next slides and explain them a wee bit better. So introduce, what, when, why. Demonstrate, so you're going to hopefully give them several different angles. 1 to 3 coaching points is more than enough. Anything more than that, and the message will get lost in translation, okay? Explain and execute. What are the players about to do? Have they any questions? And then let them at it. That's the only way they're going to learn, is by making the mistakes and then coming in at the end and seeing have they any thoughts or opinions or what could be done better or what was done well, and attend, okay? So you have to assess what you're doing, reiterate the coaching points, fix mistakes, but also it's very important to praise good technique, okay? So it's not always about hammering down on top of them about what was done wrong. It's equally and even more important to praise them about what's done right. So be mindful of that when we do return to the pitch. These lads have probably been away from the game for a long time, and maybe there's some of them who are considering coming back at all. So if they come back in the first session, they're getting nailed down like a ton of bricks, they're probably going to think, why am I bothering with this at all when I can get back out and meet my friends, and there's different social events that maybe their eyes are turned more to now than they would have been when they were 14 or 15 years of age. So praise is the best way to do that. Definitely, it's not going to be true criticism. We have our step method, so making the area bigger or smaller to suit. Time, duration or time on the ball, change what you're asking of them. So number of scores in a specific time frame, touches, no touches, number of passes, opposite foot only, okay? So what you're looking for, you can change to suit best, okay? Is there any way we can change training up a small bit, make it more interesting, whether that be in the warm-up, cool down, even in the middle of our game, okay? So can you throw in a tennis ball, reaction ball, to just freshen things up? If it's only for 5 minutes, small bit of crack, and then you get them engaged again, okay? Even in our warm-up, we can use ladders, hurdles, tackle bags, and then players, okay? So like we said already, so with our condition games and stuff, change the numbers of players, extra defender, extra attacker, 3v3s, 4v2s, 5v1s, okay? If you want to make that individual suffer for a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes, 5v1 won't be long about making it hard on them, okay? Just a few more things then that we'll run through before we move on. So just coaching specifically, we show this at every age group because it's no harm to go through this and assess all the time, okay? So how can we engage the players? How can we keep them interested? And how can we, I suppose, improve ourselves and also improve the team, okay? So building rapport with them, using their name, okay? Smile, eye contact, show an interest in your players, okay? If you know nothing about them, they're not as likely to give you their all as if you know what different events maybe that they have or how school going and stuff like that, because I suppose it's been a tough enough time for younger people as much as it has been for adults, and we can't forget that when we are returning, okay? Just different feedback we can give, so providing demos, 1 to 3 coaching points and no more, several times at different angles, and you'll always see check for understanding. Okay, so just because you said it doesn't mean they understand it, and if they don't understand it, they're not going to be able to execute it. So always check for understanding in between games, drills, skills, you name it. Observe head, hands, feet several times, check if the activity is working. We have analyze and make decisions, so compare with good and bad practice, whether that be from fellow coaches, learning online, or different sports. There's always good stuff you can branch out to. As we'll show, there's loads of stuff on the internet now that there's no reason for. It's perfectly okay to have a bad session, but there's no reason to repeat it afterwards with all the resources that are available, okay? And reinforce, and possibly there's no harm in noting something and waiting until the right time to say it, okay? If you feel a player is struggling with something and he isn't responding too well to being called out or asked in front of the group, maybe just make a wee note of it and talk about it with him before the next session individually, just for 2 or 3 minutes, and he might appreciate that wee bit more, okay? So we have explain, plan what to say, gain your attention, gain your audience, and use questions that check for understanding. And then we also have feedback, so this is critical, okay? So you promote self-analysis, limit your information to key points, make it specific, simple, and present it in a positive way, okay? If you don't check for feedback, you'll never know how the session's going. You might think it went great, other coaches might think differently, players might think differently, okay? Now, the bit I was looking forward to getting on to. So, as we see here, training considerations for the old-fashioned statement of getting them fit, okay? We see your good friend Forrest Gump up here in the corner, and I'm sure most adults, kids, players, you name it, are probably sick of 5-kilometer runs, 10-kilometer runs with no real aim to them other than just getting out of the house to blow off a bit of steam or get a bit of fresh air, okay? So I wouldn't be advocating in the slightest for continuing that practice. If you want a player to come back and play football, I'd be hoping that when he does go back that he is going to play football, okay? Ways we can do it. So you use your games to build fitness base. So you can change this up any way to suit. So if we're looking to work on our endurance, maybe we'll change up our games to 5-on-5, but give them a big area field to play in, okay? That lots of movement, lots of running. If we want to build our endurance, maybe you're looking at playing the game for 10 minutes plus, up to 15 minutes. It might be tough work, but at least to have the football in, and they might be enjoying it a bit more than running endless laps of the field or running lengths up and down the pitch, okay? Instead of our usual running segment after the warm-up at training, where I imagine most coaches would, that's where the bad news will be coming, that they're going into their fitness work straight afterwards. Maybe we try and focus more on our accelerations and our decelerations. So what I mean by that is you're stopping and starting. Obviously, if they haven't done that for probably 6 or 8 months now on a pitch, that's where there's a high risk of injury from moving at speed and slowing down. So obviously we have to reintroduce that. So we might start with 15-meter accelerations and decelerations, because over 15 meters they might not be able to get up to their top pace. As the sessions and weeks move on, we'll start up and that upwards towards 30 meters and maybe even longer, okay? If we can get up to 30-40 meter sprints, that would be excellent before we move into our games, okay? But the important part of that is we're looking for longer rest periods. So it's not go, 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 go. It's go, walk back. So if the sprint takes 10 seconds, the recovery should be at least 20 seconds, and get good quality reps in between. Other things we can work on, very specific to the game, is change of direction. So there's lots of different drills, ways of doing this. Okay, you can do races, you can do zigzags, you can also add it into hand pass and kicking drills that players have to change direction before they make a run for the ball or after they deliver a pass. Okay, so all little ways of introducing that, but I can guarantee you there's a lot more bang for your buck in working on their speed, working on their sharpness, than working on their endurance or their, as we say, getting them fit, as there's a lot of ways to do that with the ball and a lot more enjoyable ways than off the ball, okay? As we say below, players are no use if they're injured, so a gradual approach is needed, and possibly at the start a slightly cautious approach. So different ways we can do it is not overtraining. If they're back on the 19th of April, that they're not out training 4 times between then and the 25th. If you're moving from 2 sessions a week for the first 2 weeks, then you might move up to 3 sessions a week after that. Okay, so it's a gradual approach, but also allowing them time to recover. So maybe on your under 17s, you have a couple of under 15 players. Try and organise it that they're not out. Definitely not the same evening. And if they're out 2 evenings in a row, communicate with your other coaches to say, okay, Aidan there was down at me with the 17s last night. We did do a good bit of games and football, a lot of running. So definitely get them down training tonight, doing all the skill work, doing some of the games. But maybe at a couple of stages, just drop them out for a minute or two, give them a break, and then shoot them back in as well, okay? Other key ways we can work on getting them fit and keeping them fit, appropriate warm-up, and a good, consistent athletic development plan, okay? So there would have been a lot of online delivery. We would have went through a lot of online delivery with athletic development here over the pre or post Christmas, and also over the Easter period. Now we're running through with all under 15 players in Cavan who engaged in our program. Also, I know there is lots of clubs running it themselves and doing a very good job of that too, okay? So just because they've been working off a strength and conditioning or athletic development plan up until this point, they definitely should not stop it from this point on just because they're back on the pitch, okay? They should be aiming to keep it up at least once a week, maximum twice a week when you're moving into training and games, okay? So players shouldn't be in the gym really any more than 2 times a week, but they should definitely be in it at least once a week when you're moving up, specifically definitely to under 17 level. And even at under 15 level, there's a lot of injury prevention and work we can do there to balance our games and training, and also work on our recovery too, okay? So just to move on and finish off, sorry for seem like I'm doing a lot of talking now. It's difficult when you have no one talking back to you. Just to move on to our resources now, and just please bear with me for the next 5-10 minutes and we'll be finished up, but this is very important for moving into the season, and so everyone is clear on what's available to them and what they can access, okay? So one final part before we go through the resources. So it's just kind of a key point I wanted to outline before we finish. So session planning is pivotal to every good team and to every good coach, okay? So being prepared, that's communicating with your fellow coaches, with the club when the pitch is available, but not just rocking up at 10 to 7 if training's at 7 and saying, oh, geez, what will we do this evening? It's being prepared, knowing if you're going to implement a block style training. So what I mean by that, for the first three weeks you're back on the pitch, we're going to work on our kick passing, our handling, and also our sharpness, okay? So that's 3 things you're going to focus on every session, and you're going to build them up session on session for the 3 weeks. Then you might evaluate them at the final session. The next 3 weeks, then you're going to work on your tackling, your blocking, and your shooting. 3 different aspects, 3 different skills of the game. But at least that way, it allows you to prepare for your training session and progress your sessions as it goes. So you're not looking for something completely different every night. You might only tweak it a small bit, but also it'll keep it interesting and keep it engaging for the players to show them that they're improving. Then on to our resources. So I'll show you all of these now in a second. So just to run through what they are. We have our Cavan Coaching and Games YouTube channel that, in fairness to Aidan's on the call here tonight, I can hold my hand up and say Aidan has put 99% of that together, content. It's a brilliant resource from the whole way up from under 6s up to under 17s, and I'm sure even a lot of senior coaches will be tapping into some of the stuff that's there because it's very well presented and there's great learnings from it too, okay? So I'll show you that now in a couple of minutes. There's the Learning GAA website, the activity planner. Lots of us will have seen it before. There's lots of useful skill cards, games, drills, stuff on that we can access. Another one there also, he's not a Cavan man, he's actually the Mead coach, but a very good YouTube and Twitter channel, okay? So Colin Nally, lots of us will have heard of him before. So he's good games, good drills, lots of stuff to keep the player engaged. And look, if we can help steer you in the right direction for different content like that, It's no harm in branching out, not proclaiming to know it all. So branching outside a small bit too is never any harm, okay? Also there we have our athletic development. So on the YouTube channel, we have our warm-ups, we have the GA15 warm-up, we have our athletic development recovery session and our warm-up, which is the same. We have our work from home program on the Cavan Coaching and Games YouTube channel, and it has also been sent out over the past year once, if not twice, to the coaching contact in each club, okay? And then just at the bottom, there's the under 15 Easter program currently underway, okay? I'll maybe shoot out of this if I can move across to the, just bear with me for a second.
Just when Jack get across, if you have any questions, you can raise your hands up, and I don't think the chat box is available to you. So raise your hand up and we'll get to them whenever you have. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Can you see that there now, Aidan?
Yeah, good to go.
Okay, folks, so just to run through it with you here. So this is, if you search Cavan Coaching and Games, okay, lots of you will have come across this before, but some, it might be new. I was asked the question last week, is it free? And kind of was sad when I said yes, it is, but if I knew I could have made a few pound off it, like any Cavan man, I'm sure you would have, okay? But you'll see there, there's 336 subscribers, and I'm just going to run through what's on it here at the minute, okay? So if you click on playlists, you'll see all the playlists are there, Aidan has them created. So we have our under 15 and 17s playlist here in the middle. There's 25 videos available to that at the minute. We have a games playlist here for loads of different games and drills. Also shoot down through it. So we have our youth athletic development programs here. 8 videos in that. Lots of scoring drills and things here, all delivered at the Kingspan Breffni. We have skills and drills, 14 videos down here in the middle. And we also have our athletic development warm-up and videos in there too, okay? So just don't see the work from home athletic development there at the minute, but I'm sure it's in some of them there at the minute, all right? We'll just click in the videos here. So you can see all the most recent there that are loaded up. And if you want to just shoot on at any stage and have a look through, lots of different content there, even from some of the younger ones. We don't work with primary schools and stuff that as well, okay? So it's no harm to have that access or have a look at. It's free anytime to have a route through. Also, some of the resources we'll send out tomorrow too are our coaching resources. So it'll load up here now. This will all go out on a message. I'll show you now in a minute. That loaded up now, Aidan?
Yep, it is, yep.
So we'll be sending out this folder here under 15s and 17s, okay? Typical now, it'll be taking its time. So lots of work in this, okay? You'll be able to have a look through it yourself in more detail, but we have fitness with the ball, resistance training exercise, warm-up and resistance training, GA15 warm-up, games to develop football, kicking for scores, team playing games, and also should be under 15 to under 17 drills and games, okay? So loads of content in there. Feel free to go through it, print it off, download it, whatever you wish. It's available to you as well, okay? And just one thing before we finish off, I'll try and share my screen with you again. Aidan, you might give me a shout now when this is up.
Yeah, okay, we're still waiting. Yep, back on.
Back on?
Yep.
Good stuff. Okay, so, sorry lads, I'm probably bored listening to me now at this stage, but just to run through this, okay? Your club contact, so at the minute, between the 5 of us, we are contacting one specific person in each club in Cavan, okay? So that's our club designated club contact. They're getting all the information all the time, and we're hoping in most cases that they are passing it down to the relevant age groups, okay? So tomorrow, before lunchtime, they're going to get a WhatsApp message that looks like this. It probably looks like a lot of text there at the minute, but it's going to have everything from Cavan YouTube channel, work from home, athletic development, and all the resources on it, okay? And you'll see up there on the top left, this is the only bit I'm asking you to do, and hopefully you'll find it beneficial if you do. It's going to be a forms link to get entered into a county-wide WhatsApp group for the under 15s. Will be all coaches under 15 in Cavan, the under 17 likewise will be all under 17 coaches in Cavan, okay? So look, we're not going to be sharing anyone's secrets in this, or Cornerfane's game plans for the weekend, or Coot Hill's game plan for the weekend, or anything. It's literally just to share information, try and learn from each other as much as possible. We'll be banging in different messages into it. Hopefully lots of you will engage with it too, okay? So we definitely don't proclaim to know it all. We'd love to learn from all the coaches as well, and anything you find interesting might be useful, feel free to put it into it. Also, it might be useful for when we return to games, setting up challenge matches and stuff like that, okay? So if Cornerfane have won a game this weekend, if we have 15 players and we're looking to play on Saturday, I might bang in a message and say, looking for a game this Saturday. Someone might see it and say, yeah, we'll give that a go, okay? So it's just an easy point of contact, and that form is going to be at the very top of the text message you get, okay? So if you don't know who your club contact is, if you want to shoot myself, Aidan, or any of the lads an email or a text after this to find out, we can let you know. Or if you do know who your club contact is and you haven't got that text we'll give them till dinner time tomorrow, because they'll probably be working. Maybe get onto them and just see can they send it on to you, okay? So there's all the resources, all the links, the form, everything will be in that, okay? And just before we finish off, if anyone has any questions, thanks very much for listening this evening. Hopefully you got something out of it. It's not too easy speaking to a blank screen, but hopefully you got something out of it. And any questions, feel free to fire away.
Any questions there? Unmute yourself or stick your hand up, or whatever way you want to go, shout out. Otherwise, I'll start filling dead airtime with me talking. And
sorry, Aidan and Jack, Conor Lyons here. How you getting on? Just a quick question, lads. The resources look great online there, and I'll sift through them tomorrow. But just wondering, is there any coaching resources regarding strength and conditioning, gym work, that kind of stuff in there, or? Yeah,
I'll grab that one in. Thanks very much, Conor. It's a different term we're using now, would be athletic development, yeah, but it's literally the same thing. So for strength and conditioning, we have at the minute, with gyms closed and club gyms and stuff like that, probably out of bounds in lots of places, it's a work from home plan, and we'd hope when they open again we'll be able to introduce the gym plan, but it'll all be going out on the information tomorrow. So you'll see it's literally a structured gym program, sets, reps, what the lads need to do. All the videos will be on the YouTube link for that, so demonstrations and stuff. Chris Conroy, not mind me saying it, Chris does all the demos, and you'll see there it's very easy to understand. There's lots of different key points and stuff on it as well, okay? So if you're having any trouble with any of that tomorrow, shoot me an email and I'll get stuff across to you then as well, okay?
That's perfect, Jack. That's great. Yeah, we're probably looking more so looking towards for next year, I guess. Really, early stages next year. But that'd be great if we look at that. Yeah, thanks.
No problem. Thanks, Conor.
Any other questions there? I'm just we're waiting. We'll give it a couple more minutes. Anyone's question? Just a couple of things from what Jack was saying that even I picked up, that I'll be making sure myself. If you have any interaction with your clubs or your teams at this stage, it's been setting them challenges and running and everything like that. So they don't want to see that, and you probably don't want to coach that when you get back onto the field. They've missed out on thousands and thousands and thousands of touches from the dozens and dozens and dozens and probably hundreds of training sessions that they've missed from now and 12 months ago. So make sure you have a ball as much as they can. Hey, let them get a tennis ball. Make sure they all have a football at home and get them to carry it around, tip it about, write their name on the tennis ball, bouncing it when they're coming into training, whatever, follow all COVID restrictions, etc. But have them getting plenty of touches, hand-eye coordination as much as possible. That was just one thing that jumped out jumped out from me anyway. And the idea method, certainly you're not teaching them new skills at under 15, under 17. I hope you're not teaching them how to toe up a ball or anything like that. But if and when you're using game plans, or your different structure, or you're talking about a different team formation, it's the same process that applies. You introduce it, you give them a demonstration, be that on a whiteboard or a bit of video or any other kind of new age way of doing it. Let them go and try it. And then, like everything else, you spot and fix. You tell them this works, this doesn't work. The sweeper's dropping too far back. He's dropping too far forward, or he's not dropping back enough, etc. So just in case your kind of few heads were turned with the idea method, like you're not teaching them how to hand pass the ball, but that doesn't mean you can't implement that principle or that procedure. Any other questions at all, folks? You must be all mad to get watching the Champions League. Well, look at Jack. If you're happy to go, I'm happy to go. If there's any other questions, please do get in contact with us. All that stuff is coming. Please do that. A couple of you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. There's loads of stuff there. It's worth your while. Having a wee look through between that and the OneDrive resources. If you get that all used in the next couple of weeks, by Jesus, you'll have a good job done. If, by the way, you have any comments to make, feedback on this or the channel, like Conor was saying there, and you'd be looking for specifically, hey, point us in the right direction. The WhatsApp group is going to be very deadly for that. We mightn't be using it to send all the funny videos of the day in, but we can use it for our benefit. Obviously, very handy way of getting information out. So we'll use it then. You happy enough to go, Jack?
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Ian.
Right, folks. Slán Gramaga. Thanks very much. All right.
Thanks very much, folks. Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.